Sheriff Todd Baxter, employees of the Monroe County Sheriff's Office, District Attorney Sandra Doorley, employees of the Monroe County District Attorney's Office, Paul C. Messer, James Fielding Jr. in Penfield Court, Alex Renzi in New York State Supreme Court. My name is Chris Chichester. I live in Rochester, New York. I have been in jail 6 times, and 6 times the prosecutor's not talked to court. There is complete and total silence from these hacks, sociopaths, and fanatics assigned to every single one of my court appearances that have delivered me to jail 6 times. What are the names of my prosecutors? Many again from you on this July 8th to disclose the names of my prosecutors of silence. There were 22 Freedom of Information Law documents in there. Corruption is predictable. You will refuse to comply with every single one. I walk into the Penfield Public Library. I don't know I leave my house, my residence that I rent, 26 Sandra from Drive for the last time because $75,000 cop freak and psychopath Richard J.C. was looking at the front door because $28,000 judge freak and psychopath Paul C. Messer from Penfield Town Court is one person wants to deliver me to jail. I said this now repeatedly. I walk into the Penfield Public Library. 5 minutes later, Seaman and his psychopath partner walk in. Seaman runs at me, slams his arm at the side of my head. It fell down. My head is ceramic tile. I'm frog marched out of the library. Paul C. Messer was waiting for me. Without a prosecutor present from the district attorney's office to make an argument that I committed a crime. Is this constitutional? Perry Douglas and Mark Monahan, the district attorney's office, to convene Penfield Town Court when the district attorney's office is not present, which means the prosecutor can't make an argument that I committed a crime. So she sentences me to Livingston County Jail for something she created in that diseased brain of hers. And I'm driven to Livingston County Jail in Geneseo. Then I'm driven from Geneseo to Syracuse, and then I'm released. I'll process the Monroe County Sheriff's Office, and I run home down Penfield Road. I do not know that my 80-year-old landlord, Antonino Spano, locked the door and locked me out. I'll find out when I put the key in the door. This is a crime, and he will not be arrested when you receive the criminal complaint in the next 7 to 10 days for the reasons I already know. So I think, all right, the key doesn't work for some reason. I go around to the back, was a sliding glass door that's broken. He fixed it. So there were multiple crimes here, I believe, but you could tell me. I think it's a crime to lock the front door. It's a crime to lock the back door. It's a crime to do all this without a court order, and there's no court order. So I walked to Harris Whalen Park, and I slept in the park, and everything I owned is gone. My ex-girlfriend came and took what I had in the residence to a storage locker, and the storage locker was cleaned out when I was in jail again. So the reason why I tell you this, it's not for narcissism. Not because of self-absorption. I use that phrase repeatedly. I had 1,000+ books. A book I had and have read is Slaughterhouse-Five by the great Kurt Vonnegut. Kurt Vonnegut's boyhood home is on Monroe Avenue. When I go to M&T Bank, they have this marker there. So I took a photograph of it. Here. I don't have this book that I first read in high school, and then I read it again later in my 20s. I will read a book again that I love, because I've read The Great Gatsby 3 times throughout my long life, 58 years. This is a reason Sheriff Todd Baxter and District Attorney Sandra Doorley, I hate, despise, and detest you both and your psychopath employees. So, all my books are gone. Everything is gone. The level of fanaticism, hatred of this old man. My sister Barbara bought me a washer and dryer. Now, I didn't buy it, but it becomes my property in the residence. And when he rented the residence, he's doing a washer and dryer. It cost about $800, I think, and he doesn't own. There are other things, too, that happened that he's doing. So I don't have this book, because I don't have any of my books. I don't have anything. I don't even have clothes. because of you, Sheriff Baxter, and you, District Attorney Sandra. And what you're thinking the whole time, Monty, I'll never know who watches me now that I'm at 5 minutes, is he should be arrested and he should be in jail. Because you're psychopaths. You cannot control that sick compulsion that delivers you each to being a psychopath at the Sheriff's Office and District Attorney's Office in Monroe County. And a reason you're psychopaths is you have total, complete contempt for the law. Because I have the law right here on this July 8th. See this July 8th? That Freedom of Information law? You got it on here. July 6th, July 4th, July 2nd. I haven't mailed these yet, but I will. When I said I haven't mailed those yet, but I will, because here is the Freedom of Information law on May 27th. What's today's date? District Attorney Sandra, because Todd Baxter's in here too. So on May 27th, this is why you're corrupt. To call a district attorney corrupt requires evidence. Because here's your name right here, Sandra Doorley. On this May 27th, where you received the FOIL where it says to disclose the names of prosecutors and send it to 620 Park Avenue, PMB number 361, Rochester, New York 14604. There's nothing in there. So here on May 27th, you refused, District Attorney Sandra Doorley. So the same information came to you on June 22nd. It's stamped. Here's your name again, District Attorney Sandra Doorley. You refused on this June 22nd to disclose the names of prosecutors. This specifically, precisely, is why you're corrupt, District Attorney Sandra Doorley. So here it again came the next day on June 23rd. Well, I'm telling you to disclose the names of our prosecutors. And you refused. So here's June 27th. Well, I'm telling you, Michelle Crowley, that you're a disgusting, sickening degenerate. Here is your name for convening this grand jury to indict me when I'm not called to the grand jury and I don't know the grand jury's convened. And you don't even interview me. You know nothing. I've talked about this repeatedly about Michael Houlihan being perjured. So here's your name again, Sandra Doorley, on the same June 27th, where you look right at the Freedom of Information law, you pathetic diva, and you refuse to disclose the names of my prosecutors. I'm confused why I use this word corrupt. You were the most basic, elementary word for a district attorney, Sandra Doorley, in that you're corrupt. You're corrupt. I think I could list 200 reasons why you're corrupt. The reason, above all others, is my name is Chris Chichester. I've been in jail 6 times. I have prosecutors assigned to every single one of my court appearances, and you, Sandra Doorley, are refusing every single time to disclose the names of my prosecutors' silence. So, but I don't have, because Antonio Spanos, my DD-214, and every veteran has. I'm not to put contempt for veterans. I think that they deserve praise for being in the military, because there are tens of millions of veterans. I'm not a combat veteran either when I was in 101st. But it is service. When I have an Army Achievement Medal, Army Commendation Medal, an Air Assault Badge, I'm a graduate of the 10-day Air Assault School. I don't have my original DD-214 that was in my 1980 Mercury Capri when I left 101st Airborne Division on April 14, 1988, when I was 22 years old. This is because of this old man and my ex-girlfriend. Multiple crimes are committed by each. Neither one of them is going to be arrested. It's a crime in the state of New York to lock a tenant out, lock the doors without a court order. It's a crime to take everything tenant owns from the residence to a store's locker or anywhere without a court order. Antonino Spano committed these crimes. You will not arrest him because he's 80 years old and speaks in broken English. So, this is fanaticism and hatred I never thought that I'd see in my life. Fanaticism and hatred is right here, 2025 Penfield Road. That's the color photo. I've been on this thing repeatedly. How many times do I have to demand of you, Sheriff Todd Baxter, if this surveillance device or camera is private technology at this building at 2025 Penfield Road, Welly Roth is the president of a business called Consumer Insights, would you expend taxpayer dollars and buy it from me? And what's the answer? I walked through the parking lot for 4,000 times. This man named Name for our shop begins to scream at me like a psychopath. I've been around psychopaths for the last 4 years. It's sickening. I say, what's the problem? We have this confrontation. He calls Shannon Meyer, and then Shannon Meyer calls me, and I have no idea that this freak is writing a warrant for my arrest for this parking lot where I had the confrontation with Nairaj's job, I've walked through 4,000 times. When I filed a criminal complaint about Nairaj's show, when he sees people walk through this parking lot and doesn't go to the sheriff, well, it's falsely reporting an incident because he's not going to sheriff for anybody. There were fireworks at Harris Whalen Park every year in 2019 and 2020. Before and after the fireworks, hundreds of people walked through this parking lot. And I was on YouTube talking about this. If it's a crime to walk through this parking lot, hundreds of people should have been arrested. He should be disbarred too. So this is where I used to live, right here. Where I lived there for 7 years. Everything is gone because of you. And you're refusing to disclose the names of these prosecutors that have destroyed my life. And this is the accusatory instrument, this ludicrous piece of fiction, this lie, start here, the addendum here. I took every sentence. You've received this over and over in your office. And it really is sickening. This second sentence here from this cop freak, Shannon Meyer, was paid $67,000 when she obliterated me with this. And then you gave her $16,000 raise to $83,000. Upon my arrival, I spoke with V. Shaw and stated that 8 shotships on his property again today, even though he's been informed that he's not allowed to be there. No one informed I was not allowed to be there. That's ridiculous. She writes like a child. I say writes in a childish way. When Shannon Meyer is with this revolting, sickening, disgusting spectacle of human life, Nairaj's job, can she look at the parking lot, Todd Baxter, which is right here, and conclude a number of things? One, that this is not property. It's a parking lot, it's concrete. And two, people walk through it all day long. I wouldn't be surprised. I'm going to write this down for her. I'm going to ask her when she was there at 2033 Penfield Road, that's where the psychopath lived with his mother. Did she see anybody walk through the parking lot when she was there? She refused to answer. I will never know. I would not be surprised. You know why? Because every 15 minutes, somebody's walking through it. That's why. Including Penfield High School students in a red athletic apparel. If it's a crime to walk through this parking lot, Todd Baxter, send this cop freak, Shannon Meyer, to this parking lot. And when a Penfield High School student walks through it, which will happen in the next 2 days, easy, arrest that Penfield High School student. Because I have the same rights to walk through this parking lot as a Penfield High School student. Lunatic fringe fanaticism of you. So, what the name is my prosecutor, Perry Duckles. Tell me who it is. Because the freaks are right here. Now, Todd Baxter. Are these the children of Monroe County Sheriff Office employees? It's the part-time rates. Tell me what the answer is. And you refuse because you're corrupt. So everybody here is paid $29, except for John Carlo Giordano at $30.60. So I'm not be able to tell here off the top of my head if anybody has the same last name as someone I would recognize at the sheriff's office here. But why do you have part-time employees at the sheriff's office? Is this your nepotism program? This is what I'm going to tell Thomas B. Knapp. I'm going to send him this document. I'm going to have a series of questions to ask you about these $29 Monroe County Sheriff's Office part-time rates up here. Are these the children of your employees? Are these the nieces, the nephews, the granddaughters, the grandsons of your employees that are your part-time employees? Why do you need a part-time Monroe County Sheriff's Office employee? Because that's not law enforcement. Your job is to confront violent crime crashing down on Monroe County. And you're concocting crimes for me while violent crime crashes down on Monroe County. This is not individuals at the sheriff's office that are confronting violent crime and violent criminals. The hypocrisy of you is disgusting because I'm demanding you answer me, and you demand answers every day as the duly elected sheriff of Monroe County. So here we have length of employment at the sheriff's office, where the employee I'm interested in the most is Frank Chernetsky, who's a 57-year employee at the sheriff's office, which means Frank Chernetsky is at least 75 years old, and he's the old man at the jail, and he refused to answer. When I contact the Commissioner on Correction in Albany and its commissioners, I'll tell the commissioners you refuse to answer. You need to be investigated out what's going on at the jail, because, of course, you have the massive responsibility of being the sheriff. And then you have the equally massive responsibility of leading and regulating the jail. So, 57-year employee at the jail. Is he the old man at the jail, Frank Chinesky, or not? So here's length of service. Scott Alberti, you copied on here, 28 years. You're hired on October 24th, 1994. James Amico, 23 years. Salvatore Amatori, 23 years. Thomas Evangelista, 23 years. Kevin Bailey, 20 years. Keith Ball, 26 years. Amy Berardi, 25 years. Gerald Bird, 42 years. What does Gerald Bird do with the Monroe County Sheriff's Office to be a 42-year employee of the Sheriff's Office, which means he's 60 years old? Can Gerald Bird, Todd Baxter, do 20 push-ups and 20 sit-ups if you told him to do 20 push-ups and 20 sit-ups right in front of you? I don't know. He could be in phenomenal shape for 60. Or he could be one of these employees that have been around over and over and over that have 20, 30, 40, and 50 pounds overweight. So, Jacqueline Brown is a 54-year employee of the Monroe County Sheriff's Office, which means if Jacqueline Brown was hired when she was 18, Jacqueline Brown is 72 years old. Is Jacqueline Brown a uniformed, badge-wearing, gun-holstered employee of the Sheriff's Office or not? And what does Jacqueline Brown do? So, Guy Carlo, 26 years. Here, on this page here, again, more of your 20-year employees. Angela Cavalico, Tracy Cavalico. I think there's sisters there. They have to be the same last name, sisters-in-law. Do you forcibly retire your employees when they get their 20 for any number of reasons? Margaret Coon's a 46-year employee of the Sheriff's Office, which means if Margaret Coon was hired at 18, Margaret Coon is 64 years old. Is this a civilian or not? I understand if you don't watch, you want to write this down, you'll still refuse. You'll get this registered mail return receipt, just like the receipts I showed, about your payroll and length of service. Maria Cupp is a 30-year employee of the Sheriff's Office. What does Maria Cupp do at the Sheriff's Office? John DiMartino is a 30-year employee of the Sheriff's Office. Neil Delisante is a 25-year employee of the Sheriff's Office. James DeCan is a 32-year employee of the Sheriff's Office. Can they pass the Army PT test that you've taken, Todd Baxter, or not? Because you don't have any physical training standards at the Sheriff's Office. Stephen Eddy's a 28-year employee. Megan Enright's a 33-year employee. Sean Fantasy's a 25-year employee. Michael Fowler is a 28-year employee of the Monroe County Sheriff's Office that you sent to Saratoga with Corey Brown. This 28-year employee of the Sheriff's Office, what's he doing in Saratoga, New York? And why is he not in Monroe County doing his job? This is a reason why you're corrupt. So, Philip Gambato, 24. Deborah Graham is a 46-year employee of the Sheriff's Office. That means if Deborah Graham was hired when she was 18, she's 64 years old. Deborah Graham at the jail. Deborah Graham out on the roads. Deborah Graham, uniform or civilian. What does 46-year employee of the Sheriff's Office, Deborah Graham, do? Joe Grimsaw, 28 years. David Gutzmer, 29 years. Sabra Hickam, 40 years. More employees. There are 10 employees on that page. There are 20-year employees that I just looked at. So, Lorraine James is a 25-year employee of the Sheriff's Office. Trenda King is a 22-year employee of the Sheriff's Office. Krista Jocolano is a 30-year employee of the Sheriff's Office. Do you evaluate Christopher Jocolano, the 30-year employee of the Sheriff's Office? Because as you know, you have been evaluated by the listed evaluation report, where it used to be 125 was the maximum, and there were boxes you were graded 1 to 5 about your performance in the military. What's the answer, Todd Baxter? Edward Krenzer Jr. is a 43-year employee of the Monroe County Sheriff's Office. Have you ever evaluated the performance on the job of Edward Krenzer Jr.? And if he was hired at 18, he's 61 years old. I know the answer. The answer is no. There's a file in every battalion, brigade, where you could walk up to it, open up the file, and you can see the EER in it. Because I worked in what's called S1. There's files after files after files. with the EER in it, the hard copy, and then it was a computer file for it. You don't do any of this, Todd Baxter. So, Anthony Liberty, 24-year employee. Maurice Leone's a 28-year employee. Matthew Knapp, a 29-year employee. So, Michael Macri, 23-year employee. James Matricia, 28-year employee. Do you forcibly retire? Monroe County Sheriff Office employees like Andrew Miller at 28 years. Todd Baxter. So I'm not going to go on any longer. Sean Mosley, a 28-year employee. And the last one is Maria Ortolazzo, a 33-year employee hired on March 6, 1989. This is why you're corrupt. You don't evaluate these employees. These employees are physically out of shape, can't do a push-up, 20 push-ups, can't do a sit-up, 20 sit-ups, can't certainly run. These employees that I mentioned, it's only a guess, but since I've been around so many of your employees, I believe it's accurate. I believe that 75% of the employees that I mentioned here could not go to the track at Penfield High School where I finished a 5K and run around twice for a half a mile. You are not taking your experience as a soldier in the United States Army, transferring over to the sheriff's office. You want to be Mr. Popularity. What goes through your mind when you have one of these sheriff's office employees in your office standing right in front of you, 30 pounds overweight? That's just really sickening. So, and at the Office of the District Attorney of Hatred is length of service, which I demanded from her. So on here, it's not as bad as the sheriff's office because the office is smaller. The longest serving employee of the district attorney's office is you, Sandra Doorley, January 4th, 1992. You've been there for 30 years, duly elected. That's the way it's supposed to be. So you have here your employees like Michelle Bowen Richardson, who's been there since January 28th, 1991. Is this an assistant district attorney or not? So do you do evaluations for all your employees here on the job? So you, Perry Duckles, have been at the district attorney's office since March 10th, 2003. Have you, for that 20 years, Perry Duckles, refused every single time to disclose the name of a prosecutor in a court proceeding like you're doing with me? That's just mind-blowing that you refuse to disclose these names to me. So on the second page, the length of service of the district attorney's office, I'm the Senate Controller Thomas B. Napoli. When I request of him that you be audited at the district attorney's office, where I'm hoping he will discover at least unethical things, because there's a fine line between unethical and illegal. You're definitely doing unethical things because you're corrupt. District Attorney Sandra Doorley. Crow will be able to find you doing illegal things with money. And what you're thinking the whole time is he should be arrested. Look how obnoxious he is and point his finger at us. And I really hate that guy, and he needs to be in jail. And we'll get him in front of a judge where the prosecutor doesn't have to talk to court. I'm going to keep his ass in jail for as long as we want. It's exactly what you're thinking. So, Paula Papatelli, August 28, 1985. James Lamphere, December 17, 1994. They're prosecutors. You evaluate them. I know what the answer is. You don't evaluate anybody. So here on the page here, length of service for the district attorney's office. I'm surprised at how many names are on it, because you can't get everybody in. 247 South Fitzhugh, and you have satellite office. You allow employees to work from home, and you refuse to answer me because you're corrupt. So, who is it? Is my prosecutor on this page right here? Two females standing behind me in Alex Renzi's courtroom. Was that Caroline Rodriguez, hired at the district attorney's office on October 3rd, 2022? Or is that Marianne Rossetti, hired at the district attorney's office on January 22nd, 2001? I don't know. You know. The 5'2" three-piece suit boy has my concocted charges, fiction, and lies before Paul C. Metzler. Is that Matthew Swartz, hired on February 17, 2004? I don't know. You know. The assistant district attorney, who I think is Julie Hahn. But I don't know because you refuse to tell me. Where's my concocted charges fictionalized before John P. Lomenzo Jr. in Penfield Court? If it's not Julie Hahn, it's Sarah Zani, hired at the District Attorney's Office on October 29, 2018. Do you evaluate your employees? District Attorney Sandra Doorley. I already know the answer. It's no. So, this is a document you received on a Gmail account. I only use Gmail once when I use it. Christopher.Chichester 24 Gmail. Affliction, Todd, Baxter, Sandra, Judge Alex Renzi, April 14, 2023. This is why you're corrupt. Mail it Amazon Prosecutor Science, the address below in Rochester. You want to read the 6 attached PDF documentation. Ask me about sexual harassment and officers resign. And you refused. So, it really is mind-blowing to me that you're refusing. Like I call this identification. This is March 30th. A simple word. I'll go with simple word, then I'll go with deflammatory word. Identification on March 30th. Tell me names on prosecutors, and you refuse because you're corrupt. So this is the Freedom of Information Law. Sending information to 620 Park Avenue, PMB number 361, Rochester, New York, 14604, and you will refuse because you're corrupt. Freedom of Information Law. Information about the grand jury convened by District Attorney Sandra to target Christopher Chichester. That is 1, the day, month, and year the grand jury is convened. 2, the assigned District Attorney's Office employee to address the grand jury. 3, the witnesses that testified to the grand jury. 4, the vote of the grand jurors. 5, the transcript of the grand jury proceedings. So, on this July 8th, 2nd, 4th, 6th, 8th, 4th time in the month of July, I'm demanding this from you. Michelle Crowley, director of the grand jury. How come you didn't call me to the grand jury? I'm going to be relentless in pursuing the disbarment. I'm confident you can be disbarred. I don't make predictions. I don't like to make predictions. I try to avoid that. I'll just say I'm confident you can be disbarred. You obliterated me with 18 to 24 anonymous cities. You refused to answer questions for 18 months about it. And I'm in jail because of you. And Michael Houlihan and Don Benedetto. Michael Houlihan's a perjurer. Richard J. Siebel walked into Penfield Public Library and violently attacked me. Sent my money back to me, $61.39, and you refused to have back because you're corrupt. The issuance of a new check to Christopher Chichester, address below for the expired check in the amount of $61.39 from the County Monroe Office of Sheriff and May Fund account because that's the bottom amount in pocket of Chichester when he's violently attacked the Penfield Public Library, $75,094, Richard J. Siebel in Montgomery Sheriff's Office. This is a violent psychopath cop that needs to have an immediate mental health evaluation, and he should be terminated because he cannot pass one. He should be fired just for violently attacking me. But I believe that a competent medical professional that has him right in front to ask a series of questions to him, like, why did you go into a library and attack a citizen and you stalked into a library? And what's he said? He's a liability for you at the sheriff's office. Michael Riley, Kathleen Biller, Scott O'Brien, and William Tadeo. This psychopath cop, Richard J. Siebel. He should be fired and terminated, not because of anything he did to me, because I believe that's irrelevant to you. Moving forward, he will continue to behave in this way because he's a violent fanatic. I have prosecutors silence. You refuse to disclose these prosecutors silence. I have freaks of silence. Prosecuting me in silence. Who is it? Freedom of Information on documentation of the case of Christopher Chichester with John P. Lomenzo Jr. Poundtown Court. What is the name of the prosecutor? The freak existing in silence is right here. What's the name of the freak? Freedom of Information Law. Documentation of the case of Christopher Chichester with Paul C. Metzer in Poundtown Court. What is the name of the prosecutor? Senator Doorley. The freak existing in silence is right here. What's the name of the freak? Freedom of Information Law. Documentation for the case of Christopher Chichester before Alex Renzi in the United States Supreme Court. What is the name of the prosecutor? Sandra Doorley. The freak existing in silence is right here. What's the name of the freak? That's just really mind-blowing that I cannot find out the name of the prosecutor in public proceeding from you people. My former employer is Todd Baxter, the United States Senate, United States House of Representatives, passed the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act of 1996, commonly called HIPAA, to properly protect healthcare records. My healthcare records are not properly protected when you give them to Paul C. Metzler. Paul C. Metzler knows what I only told my mother and father. What is wrong with you? Why do you hate the human condition? Why do you embrace humiliation? Freedom of Information Law. Copy of the private healthcare records delivered to $28,000 Penfield Town Court Judge Paul C. Messer by Sheriff Todd Baxter, Monroe County, in violation of the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act of 1996. I'm going to do everything possible, Paul C. Messer, to see if you're removed from that disgusting star chamber of Penfield Town Court, and this is one thing that I believe can achieve it. Todd Baxter. This right here. Is that not a surveillance device, Todd Baxter? Because if it's not, tell me it's not. Freedom of Information Law, cost of a surveillance device purchased with taxpayer dollars by Monroe County Sheriff Todd Baxter, fixed to a building, 2025 Penfield Road, Tomato, Christopher Church, 26 Vans Farm Drive, Wall Street Park Line, exit building, and that's the lunatic fringe. Black and white photos attached in PDF. It's right there again. You're calling Renzi Barron, Monroe County Office of Mental Health upon me. You hacks, sociopaths, the sheriff's office. You don't know anything about what's happening in my residence. This is sexual harassment at the sheriff's office and district attorney's office. Todd Baxter and Sandra Doorley. So, sexual harassment is a man asking a woman out of date over and over and over. She's under siege. No, sexual harassment is a man touching a woman in the office. She says, keep your hands to yourself. Don't touch me. Sexual harassment is rude, vile, profane language in the office, oftentimes laden in misogyny. Any number of ways that this dehumanizing behavior destroys soul. Sexual harassment at the sheriff's office, the district attorney's office. Tell me the answer. The cost taxpayers of Monroe County Sheriff Todd Baxter suspended taxpayer dollars on employment-related discrimination lawsuits that apply with Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. This is the payroll for the sheriff's office. So on this page here, Todd Baxter, if you cared about the answer to this question about sexual harassment and know what's going on in your own sheriff's office, you would call into your office Nicole E. Picano, who was paid $73,312.98, and you would ask Nicole E. Picano, simple question: is there sexual harassment you have heard of at the sheriff's office, or have you been sexually harassed? There's different ways to define it. So do that, Todd Baxter. Do what I'm telling you to do. Call $73,000 Nicole Picano into your office and ask her. That's what you do if you cared about your employees. So, Freedom of Information Law. Cost taxpayers for district attorney Sandra expended taxpayer dollars on employment-related discrimination lawsuits failed to comply with Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. So this is the payroll for the district attorney's office. I'll go to the third page of the payroll. So on it here, on the third page of the payroll, is junior employee Denise M. Cosme at $36,494. If you, Sandra Doorley, cared about sexual harassment in the district attorney's office, you would ask to speak to Denise M. Cosme and just say what I just said about Todd Baxter. Have you ever been sexually harassed? Did you understand the term? Do you know anybody that's been sexually harassed? You're not going to do any of that. And that's particularly appalling because you're a woman. So, I just started to write this for him. I hope he's enraged when he looks at this. He's going to do the full Mo Green, do you know who I am? Freedom of Information Law, the cost taxpayers to supervise Judge Alex Renzi in the New York State Supreme Court expended taxpayer dollars on employment-related discrimination lawsuits federal apply with Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. So, time and a half overtime. How's that done? At the sheriff's office and district attorney's office. There's the salary you were paid, Todd Baxter, $132,000. You get overtime, Mr. Sheriff, or not? There's definitely overtime and time and a half for both offices. How is it done? Send me a list of just the overtime payments. Total cost of overtime, time and a half, help payment on base salaries calculated at the Monroe County Sheriff's Office. Todd Baxter. So at the Monroe County Sheriff's Office, Todd Baxter. On the payroll here is all your different employees here. Nobody's paid $100,000 here. Timothy J. Kemp, $75,904. Can Timothy J. Kemp double his salary? because of overtime and time and a half, Todd Baxter. Wanda S. Johnson Bell. Can Wanda S. Johnson Bell also for $75,000 double her salary? Tell me what the answer is. So, Freedom of Information Law or the District Attorney's Office. Total cost of overtime, time and a half, hour paid beyond a base hours calculated at the Monterey District Attorney's Office of Sandra Doorley. So here's the payroll for the District Attorney's Office. On the second page is Susan I. Schultz, $34,000, because Susan I. Schultz doubled her salary with overtime and time and a half. So Lisa Grady, counsel to the District Attorney, $89,000, $542. Counsel to the District Attorney is unlike other Assistant District Attorneys. I believe that you have contact with her every day of the week. Can you double your salary to $190,000, Lisa Gray? What's the answer? Your boss will refuse to answer because she's as corrupt as Elliot Spitzer. Lunatic fringe. I don't care. It's a private event. Tell me it's tax dollars. Cost for photography session, photograph 10 Monterey County Sheriff Office employees underwater in a pool. Your employees. Violence is crashing down on Monroe County, and here are Monroe County Sheriff Office employees underwater in a pool. The freaks are out on Monroe County Avenue all day long, screaming at each other, engaging in criminal acts. And your employees are underwater in a pool. A 29-year veteran of the Rochester Police Department, Anthony Mazurkowicz, is murdered by drug dealer Calvin Vickers, and your employees are underwater in a pool. So, Pemberton Court, $28,000 policy, Metzger James Family Jr., $34,000. How many taxpayers supporting public employees are the Pemberton Court? It's you two and it's the old lady, right? Perry Duckles and Mark Monahan, do something about this vile, disgusting star chamber. What do you think when you have to go in there and be here before these two hacks, given your education and your experience? Because they're about 70 years old, these fossils, who were elected with about 5,000 votes. Do you think in private, when you leave this star chamber, I can't fucking believe I have to appear before these two hacks and make an argument, and these two hacks should be shining my shoes, because that's exactly what you should be thinking. So, names, salaries of every public employee in Pemberton Court. Tell me what the answer is. I hope you don't answer Paul C. Metzger James Family Jr. I'll never know if you watch me, of course. But I'll tell Thomas B. Napoli you refuse to answer, and this will be a reason why you can be audited. So, Freedom of Information Law, names, salaries of every public employee in New York State Supreme Court under Supervisor Judge Alex Renzi, 99 Exchange Boulevard in Rochester, New York. Try to find out if he has clerks who look at this and think I want to send him to jail. Keep him in jail as long as I want. So you got Corey Brown and Michael Fowler going to Saratoga, Todd Baxter. So you're testifying before the House Rules Committee. And you got Ryan Fisher in Atlanta, Georgia. Stars and Bars, Atlanta, Georgia. With his dog, Lola. What was the cost of the trip? What was the cost of the hotel room? What's the cost of the plane ticket? Tell me the answer. The cost of a hotel, plane ticket for Monterey County Sheriff Office employee Ryan Fisher attended Super Bowl in Atlanta, Georgia on February 3rd, 2019. Here he is right here. That's a joke. Members of the House and Senate know that a junket enrages constituents. You, Todd Baxter, don't know a junket enrages constituents. It's your employee, Ryan Fisher. He's in Atlanta, Georgia. And then you want people to know he's in Atlanta, Georgia. You're such a moron. You're such a stooge. You're going to Twitter and tweeting about your employee being 1,000 miles away. Where? Where this hate symbol was not changed until 2003, where they wrote on it, wisdom, justice, and moderation. When they're lynching black citizens in the South, week after week after week in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, up until the early 1960s. They got wisdom, justice, and moderation on his hate symbol. And Ryan Fisher is in that state with that abomination that's Stars and Bars. Tell me the answer. Freedom of Information Law, firearms. You got your contract for your firearms. Tell me what it is. The contract signed by Sheriff Todd Baxter to purchase firearms from Monterey County Sheriff Office employees to include 1, the name of the firearms contractor, 2, the number of firearms purchased, 3, total amount of taxpayer dollars to purchase firearms. This could possibly remove you from office. The accumulation of everything I'm doing to you can remove me from office? Tell me the answer. You refuse because you're corrupt. All travel. You sign a voucher. You sign off on your employees. You sign off on Corey Brown and Mike Fowler going to Saratoga. You sign off on Ryan Fisher going to Atlanta, Georgia. You sign off on yourself going to Washington, D.C. to the House Rules Committee. It was nothing to do with law enforcement. Freedom of information. The cost for all travel from Monroe County, New York State by employees of Monroe County Sheriff's Office, Todd Baxter. You refuse to answer me because you're corrupt. Same thing with you, Sandra Doorley. The cost for all travel from Monroe County, New York State by employees of Monroe County District Attorney's Office, Sandra Doorley. Did you go to the District Attorneys Association of State of New York Summer Conference, Saratoga, or not? Same thing with you hacks on Penfield Court. You travel and away from Penfield Court. The cost for all travel in Monroe County, New York State by employees of Penfield Court, 195 Bed Road, Penfield, New York. Tell me what the answer is. Alex Renzi, I'll look at this and think I should go to jail. Cost for all travel from Monroe County, New York State by employees of New York State Supreme Court, 99 Exchange Boulevard, Rochester, New York, 14604. Sandra Doorley, how do you get into the office? You don't ride your bike if you have a bike. You don't walk. There's two ways. You drive yourself into the office, or you're driven and you have a chauffeur and driver. Do you have a chauffeur and driver? Please have a chauffeur and driver. Freedom of information law. Cost taxpayers for an automobile and driver for District Attorney Sandra Doorley. Freedom of information law has been communicated to you on this July 8th. 22 are in there. You refuse to comply with 0 because you're corrupt. You do not know. You're corrupt. You will never know. You're corrupt. Monroe County Sheriff's Office employees, William Cadeo, Michael Radman, Kathleen Miller, Scott Alberti. My name is Chris Chichester. I've been violently attacked repeatedly by Monroe County Sheriff's Office employees at the Penfield Public Library by $75,000 Richard J. Seaman, by an unidentified Monroe County Sheriff's Office employee at Wegmans and Monroe County Jail. Since I know the name and salary of Richard J. Seaman, it'll be easy for me to write the assault complaint about this psychopath. Richard J. Seaman and Paul C. Metzer decided I'm going to be in Livingston County Jail, Tennessee. Two people decided when I'm finally tagged at the library, where they stalked me into the library. So, I believe that violence exacted upon me by Monroe County Sheriff's Office employees means nothing to you, Michael Radler. Means nothing to you, William Cadeo. It means nothing to you, Kathleen Miller. And it means nothing to you, Scott Alberti. How old are you, Scott Alberti? Because I saw a photograph of you, I believe you were at an award ceremony promotion with Todd Baxter. Because I believe you're 50, over 50, but that's a guess. Well, it's not a guess. You're 20 pounds overweight, and that's a disgrace. I've been demanding from Todd Baxter physical fitness status at the sheriff's office for 18 plus months, and he's refused for 18 plus months. And as he is a veteran, he has taken a PT test, which used to require soldiers to push ups, sit ups, and a 2-mile run for a maximum score of 300 points. And Todd Baxter is placing the lives of his own Monroe County Sheriff's Office employees at risk because his own Monroe County Sheriff's Office employees are at a weight and overweight. And that's you, Scott Alberti. So I'm going to tell you about violence. I'm violently attacked at the Penfield Public Library by Richard J. Seaman. Now, I'm not going to dwell on that here in this 10 minutes that I have on this app because I know his name. And he won't be fired when I write the criminal complaint about him. Because Todd Baxter loves violence. This is the name of the Monroe County Sheriff's Office employee. I don't know. But the female employee with the Marine-style haircut and tattoos can identify this psychopath that works with Todd Baxter. And this is why this
app I use called TikTok. It's called Psychopaths Todd Baxter. Sworn officers along with badge and holstered weapon are common thugs and criminals like Richard J. Seaman paid $75,000 to stalk me into the public library, and then Paul C. Metro decided I'm going to be in Livingston County Jail in Geneseo. So, I'm walking into Fairport to go to Gold's Gym, and I reach the pharmacy entrance to Wegmans. 5 Monroe County Sheriff Office vehicles converge on me at once. One of these cretins, one of these psychopaths, one of these thugs exits his vehicle, runs at me, drives his shoulder into my hip, and my head slammed down on the concrete pavement, Scott Alberti. What do you think about what I said? What do you think about what happened to me?
I'll tell you what you think. It doesn't matter. Who is it? Sheriff Todd Baxter, Sheriff of Monroe County, 5 vehicles, 10 employees, 10 witnesses. Who is it? Ask your female employee with the Marine-style haircut and tattoos who violently attacked me outside the pharmacy next to Wegmans. Did you send these vehicles for me? You refuse to answer all those questions because you're a psychopath. This is it right here. This is why you're a psychopath right here. So, what is wrong with you in the sheriff's office? Why do you hate the human condition? Why do you hate human beings? Why are you obsessed with power over innocence? It's because you're corrupt. What is wrong with you with the district attorney's office? Why can't you recognize innocence? There's guilty and not guilty. I'm neither. I'm innocent. I have been an innocent man my whole life. My name is Christopher Chavez. I live in Rochester, New York.